Well, hello, Foundry Brewers. Welcome to Mithral Brews, and my name is Chris. Today, we are going to build another subclass from one of the Unearthed Arcanas. I do believe this is the last one that was just released on October 30th. We are going to build the Oathbreaker Paladin. Now, this doesn't come by any viewer request. It is one I just wanted to make because it kind of fit along with the Necromancer. It's a great party member, possibly. It also has a unique, let's say, feature about it that says, at the DM's discretion, a paladin of any level who violates the tenets of their oath can lose the benefits granted from their original subclass and gain the features of the Oathbreaker subclass instead. Alternatively, a paladin can choose the subclass at level 3 based on the character's background story of falling from grace. Now, why did I want to do this? I thought it'd be good to show one thing that I really like about Foundry is your ability to customize and arrange things to work for your game very easily, because it's a digital format versus pen and paper erasing and making updates on D&D Beyond. Well, heck, D&D Beyond, you can't even do this Pathfinder unless you want to go through all the customizations and buildings of it, and I'm sure someone's already done that, but in Foundry it's much easier. So I'm going to look here at Sir Render Fail. He is going to be our guinea pig character for this build. Sir Render is a high elf guard paladin of 6th level who's taken the Oath of Devotion. Well, he's broken his oath. He's made some choices that are not quite within the tenets of his backstory in the story of being a devoted paladin of some lawful, great, good god of some sort, deity. He's made some changes, and the player and the DM have decided, well, maybe Sir Render here should take the Oathbreaker background, or the Oathbreaker subclass. This allows the character to develop more of the player to develop more of the character story with the DM that fits maybe more in the style of where the campaign's going. Hopefully, this is discussed as a party or however you see fit if you're the DM. But this is a great opportunity for a player to change their story, and I thought this subclass would be a great example of that. So I've made the subclass as I normally do before this video. I'm going to pull it out of my compendium that I have made, personal compendium, and I'm going to go through the same steps that I normally do. I'm going to go through each of the subclass features and then how to build the subclass. But this one's got a unique thing about it. You already have a subclass. And what does that look like to change your subclass on your character if you've not done that? And how does that work? So we're going to quickly remove the Oath of Devotion subclass, and we're going to add the Oathbreaker subclass to Sir Render here as an example of how you could change it at this level. Then we'll level Sir Render up to level 20, and then I'll go through each of the subclass features in which I will show you how I built them and what I did for them. Now, I will say this subclass has some features I think might improve if you were to use some extra modules to automate some things. And I'm not going to use that. I always make my videos with the intentions of keeping it simple to the core of Foundry without using importers and without using extensive modules. But I'll kind of explain areas which I think might be helpful to use a module. I have used some modules that might benefit the Paladin here, and maybe in the future I'll make some videos on that, and I'll come back to Sir Render, the Oathbreaker, as an example of what some of those modules should will look like with them. All right, let's get started. First, how do you remove an existing class, subclass? Maybe if you want to change a background or something, it's pretty easy. You're just going to edit the sheet. So you turn on your edit here, and then you remove whatever you want to remove. So if I want to remove the high elf here, I would just hit the delete button. If I wanted to remove guard, I would hit the delete button. With classes and subclasses, you're just going to delete the item right here with the red X. So just like I could level him down to level 3 if I wanted to say, well, you know, I made a mistake. Let's go back to level 3. Let's then add the Oathbreaker and level him back up to level 6 to see all the level advancements and how they work. But you don't really need to do that. You can just level him, drop the subclass on at 6th level, and it'll work the same. So we're going to delete the item, and then we're going to say remove all the advancements. Maybe you don't know what the advancements are. So real quick, let's show you that. When I hit cancel, I'm actually going to lock the sheet so we don't remove it. And we're going to click on the Oath of Devotion. Then I'm going to go over to advancement. And from advancement, you will see these little check marks. This means that it has gone through and configured on the character sheet the advancement features that Surrender would have gotten on level 3 and that level 5. So he should have Shield of Faith, Protection from Evil, Aid, and Zone of Truth as spells, and then subclass features Oath of Devotion spells and Sacred Weapon. If we look here at the features, we see Oath of Devotion spells, we see Sacred Weapon, and then under spells, because I have not selected any additional spells outside of what he would have gotten as part of leveling up and from being a high elf, you will see that he's got the Shield of Faith and Divine Smite as part of the Paladin, but he's also got Aid, Zone of Truth, and that's it. Yeah, so those are the 4 spells. So just to verify real quick that I was correct on that. There you go, Shield of Faith, Protection from Evil. All right, I didn't see protect. Yeah, there's Protection from Evil. So got protection from evil and good, Shield of Faith, Aid, and Zone of Truth. So if I remove the Oath of Devotion, those should go away. And let's just verify that that happens. Now I'm going to remove that advancement. Those 2 features are now gone. And if we go to the spells are now gone. So, and even close the book or the feature page for me when I removed it. So it says you don't have access to this now. To add the new subclass, all we have to do is take Oathbreaker, and we could drag it and drop it from here. I don't like doing that. I always like letting the compendium browser add it for me. That way I don't make any mistakes. So I'm going to select Oathbreaker, hit select, and then it's going to go through the advancement. So the advancement at level 3 is to get Hellish Rebuke and Witch Bolt as part of the Oathbreaker spells. And then the subclass features Oathbreaker spells, Dreadful Aspect, Conjure Undead. And then because I'm also hitting the level 5 advancement, it is doing the Crown of Madness and Darkness from the Oathbreaker spell list. Now, if you watch my other videos, you will notice something, and I learned a lesson when making this subclass that I made mistakes in my other videos. And that is, if there is a subclass feature called, like, so I had Necromancer spells, or I had the Hexblade spells, I was putting the spell advancements in that feature subclass, or that subclass feature. And that's because the way Foundry implements features and such, I thought it made more sense that it's getting the spells technically from this feature, not from the subclass. It's getting it from the Oathbreaker spells feature. But the problem is that when you drop at 6th level, you drop the Oathbreaker end in replacement for that Oath of Devotion, you're only getting the initial advancement, which is at 3rd level. So what would happen is at 5th level, it would not see the advancement because it isn't really advancing to 6th level. It's just getting the subclass up to 6th level. And you're not advancing in level. You're really just advancing the subclass. And so it doesn't work the same by advancing through the subclass feature. You have to add the spells as an advancement on the subclass for that to work properly. And that shouldn't be a problem unless on the other subclasses that I've made so far, if you follow that setup, it shouldn't be a problem because usually you wouldn't add the subclass right away at like 6th level or at a higher level. Even if you added it to another class as multi-class, it should advance with that class's level. So that was the only difference I really did in the Oathbreaker. I had originally set it up in the Oathbreaker spells. All you have to do, if I wanted to go back and change that, for instance, on the Warlock, Hexblade, if I go to under the advancement here and I go to the Hexblade spells and I go to advancements, all I have to do is drag and drop these over and then delete it from here. So I could easily update this Hexblade by dragging and dropping the advancements and deleting them. And now the Hexblade is updated without doing any extra work. Okay, so that is the Oathbreaker advancement. Details, of course, I've changed the identifier to Oathbreaker and made sure that class identifier is set up to be Paladin. Now I'm going to go away for a moment and come back with Surrender at level 20, and then we'll go through each of the features one by one. Okay, now we've got Surrender Fail here is level 20 because the Oathbreaker advancement gives features at levels 3, 7, 15, and 20. And of course the spells at various levels such as 3rd, 5th, 7th, 13th, and 17th. But we'll go through that as we're going through the 3rd level advancements. So at 3rd level, close this. At 3rd level, the first feature that a Oathbreaker gets is Conjure Undead. So the details, of course, this is a class feature. It's going to summon using the channel divinity and required level 3. Activities is basically a summon activity. If you want a reminder, these are the different activities you can do. That does remind me, I do plan on making a future video coming up here that goes over each of these activities and how you can use them. Summon activity is, you don't really need to name it. It's just, that's exactly what it is. It's summoning some undead. It's going to activate as a bonus action. It's going to consume the channel divinity. So as you see here, it's choosing the player's handbook version of the channel divinity. As a reminder, how you would do that is you would go to the player's handbook, go to character classes, go to Paladin, class features, then go to the channel divinity under class features. You would do the same if you were just using the modern content folder here. Go under character classes, follow the same steps I'm showing you here, and then you would click this little badge up here called Copy Document UUID. You would copy that, put it to your clipboard, and then cut and paste it into the feature here. So you'd say 1 item use of that channel divinity. Targeting would be range of 30 feet. And then summoning. The summoning, you're going to drag and drop the skeleton and the zombie. You can drag and drop it from wherever you want to grab a skeleton and a zombie. I dragged it from the Monsters Manual. You could drag it from the modern content, the legacy content. If I wanted to, I could drag skeletons or zombies from the MCDM Monsters Bundle. I could bring it from the Monsters Manual Guide or Dungeon Master's Guide, because I do believe it has zombies in there. It also, well, actually, I think it has into Player's Handbook. So you have Player's Handbook monsters. You might have other versions of your own zombies and monsters, or zombies and skeletons. So drag it from wherever you want, the 2 undead here. If you want to make updates, you can do different undead, obviously, but these are the ones from the Monsters Manual. I changed the name just so they would show up differently when summoned. And then there's a formula you do need to put in here if you want it to calculate how many undead correctly to half of the Paladin's charisma modifier to a minimum of 1. So as with other features that I've shown in other videos, you start with the term max because you're saying the max should be at minimal 1 or this other number. And so we always put max and then in parentheses, we tell it to do 1. And then it uses JavaScript math. So math.ceil or math.ceiling, looking for the number rounded up. And then you say abilities.charisma or .cha.mod divided by 2. And I got verification that, well, I've seen this work, but I got verification. Thank you to those individuals on the Foundry Discord D&D channel to help me make sure that calculation was correct. So that's how you set it up to do a minimal 1 of your charisma modifier half rounded up. So, all right, changes. There's no additional changes as far as the summons go. It doesn't need any additional settings, so there's no level limit here specifically. The changes, you could maybe, if you wanted to associate an effect with it so that when it drops, it again becomes noticeable that those zombies are the ones summoned by the Oathbreaker if you needed that. If not, then you don't need to add an effect. Of course, there's no advancements with this, and that's it. So let's see this in action. We're going to take Surrender Fail here. We're going to grab the Conjure Undead feature. He has 3 Channel Divinity right now. We're going to hit Conjure Undead. We're going to use this ability, and then we're going to summon skeletons. So 1, 2, 3. Close this. There's the 3 skeletons. It did not change their name in any shape or form, which is interesting. So I have to take a look at that, but there's your 3 skeletons. The one thing I would recommend is for you to change your disposition to friendly. That way, if you have feature or modules such as the Aura 5e module, I think it's called the Aura 5e module, managed modules, yeah, Aura effects module, then these would be marked as friendly and would gain the benefits of the Surrender's Aura of protection. So there's his skeletals summons. Works great with a necromancer. If they have theirs, you can just have a whole party of undead. All right. Other 3rd level feature is Dreadful Aspect. So this is used after the Paladin uses Divine Smite. They can channel divinity, so using another channel divinity feature, that bursts of magical menace. Each creature of your choice in a 30-foot emanation originating from you must succeed in a wisdom saving throw or have the frightened condition for 1 minute. A frightened creature repeats the save at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. So let's take a look at how it is set up. Under details, of course, I'm using it as a channel divinity, class feature level 3. Activities, it is a save activity. So those that are in the emanation of 30 feet will have to make a saving throw. I'm setting this cost as special, cast after you or use after you cast Divine Smite. It's going to consume 1 channel divinity again. So I'm actually pulling this off of the character this time. If we look at it from over here, you'll see it consumes. There's that channel divinity, UUID again. It is targeting and it ranges yourself, and it is a 30-foot emanation. The effect is the effect is challenging as a wisdom save using spellcasting ability. There's no damage, but then there's going to be the effect called a Dreadful Aspect. So let's take a look at the effect. The effect is you put the details of the effect. So you're frightened by the Oathbreaker. This lasts for 1 minute. You can repeat and then this is a embedded roll for wisdom save at the end of each of your turns, ending with the effect on a success. It is giving you the frightened condition. It's going to last 60 seconds. And there's no effects. There's no change to the actor. So it's dropping that. So let's add some enemies here. We're going to add a crocodile. Let's do 2 crocodiles. So we have 2 crocodiles here, and Surrender is going to use his dreadful aspect. There it is, consuming channel divinity. We're going to say yes. Let's place a measured template just so we know where to place it. We're going to select the crocodiles that would be in his emanation effect, and we're going to make them roll a wisdom saving throw. 1 passes, 1 fails. The one that fails is going to get the dreadful aspect. So then here's that, applying the effect to the token. Using the visual active effects module, I can look up here in top right and it will tell me what's the effect on this creature right now. And it says that it lasts for 1 minute, and there's the description of how to get out of it. So if it was the end of the crocodile's turn, if I'm hovering over this, I can hit the middle mouse button and then hit the saving throw. Roll. Saving throw is normal. And then look, the crocodile would have passed the saving throw at the end of their next turn. During this time, of course, they are now frightened, and that will come in later as part of another feature that Surrender gets at level 20, I do believe. The last feature at level 3 are the Oathbreaker spells. So if we look at that feature, all I did, as I've done before, is copy the existing spell template, basically the way it's laid out for other spell subclasses, dropped it in here, made the edits of the links and created hyperlinks to the actual spell in the player's handbook. I do believe I did that. And that's it really. Again, details level type class feature level 3. I didn't add the advancement as I showed in the beginning of this video. That's all you have to do. So there's your level 3. Your next features come at level 7. And at level 7, you get Aura of Hate. So this is in addition to the Paladin's Aura of Protection. So let's view the item. So when you, as well as any fiend or undead in which is in your Aura of Protection, that is an ally, hits a creature with a melee attack, that attack deals extra necrotic damage equal to your charisma modifier. So I added the Foundry note. As with most aura features, you can't automatically apply them to the other tokens. So Paladin Aura of Protection, the effect only shows up on the Paladin. It will not show up on the other creatures. This is just a limitation currently with the way the Foundry core system works. Again, there is a module called Aura Effects that will allow you to apply some of the effects to your allies, essentially. The only thing is, and I would have to test this, and I have not been able to, would be testing it with other, or the limitation of this specific aura, because this aura only affects fiends or undead in which you are an ally with. It doesn't affect all of your allies. So it's just you, the fiends, and the undead, not your buddy dwarf Joey and Sister Sandy. It does not do anything for those other actors. Let's look at how I've set it up. I just closed it again. All right, so how I set it up, details, again, class level 7. Activities, there's no activities. There is an effect. So this is the Aura of Hate effect. We're going to explain what it does. So fiends and undead in your aura of protection are allies add necrotic damage equal to your charisma modifier to their melee attacks. During that duration, there's no duration on it. And then the changes would be system.bonuses.mwak or melee weapon attack .damage, and the same thing except for MSAK melee spell attack. And then abilities.charisma.mod, and then in brackets put necrotic so that it separates that this is necrotic damage. So what does that look like? So if Surrender here targets this crocodile, and Surrender uses his longsword to make an attack, he hits the crocodile, and then when he rolls damage, you're going to see it does the additional 5 necrotic damage. So we roll normal. It is doing 7 slashing, 5 necrotic, and 4 radiant, which I do believe is part of the Paladin feature. So we're worried more about just did the necrotic calculate correctly. And if we look at his charisma modifier is 20, so he has a +5 modifier and can do 5 additional damage. And that would probably be enough to kill the crocodile. The thing is of course the skeletons here, they should get that. They should also get that +5. So if this skeleton were to attack the crocodile, what you would do if we rolled the attack with the short sword there, and then we rolled damage, you would do +5, and then in brackets necrotic damage and hit normal. And then that would do the additional 5 necrotic damage that the skeleton would get for being in Surrender's 30-foot aura. And that is the level 7 Aura of Hate. Again, this might be used with the aura effect module, but I don't know how you would use that and tell it also to ignore all things that are not fiends or skeletons. Again, if I do a demonstration of that module, which I do plan on in the future, then I'll see how that works. So let's move on. Let's look at the level 15 features. I'm going to remove this measurement. The level 15 feature is Supernatural Resistance. This is a pretty simple one. So you gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Details class feature at level 15. There are no activities. There's just an effect. If we look at the effect, it's an effect applied at the actor once they get this feature. There's no duration, and the changes are system.traits.dr, or damage resistance, lowercase, .value. And then you make one for bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. And that's it. Let's see it in action on the character. If we look at Surrender and we look under resistances, we see that it's been added. Bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing have been added. And if we were to, for instance, target Surrender with the skeletons slashing for now, if I were to roll damage, you will see that on 7 piercing damage rolled, Surrender only gets 3. And if we hover over here, we see that it shows piercing resistance as the reason why it's been reduced to 3 versus 7. That's it. That's Supernatural Resistance. The last and final feature at level 20 is Dreadlord. Let's take a look at Dreadlord. It has a few, sub features within this feature. So as a bonus action, you can imbue your aura of protection with unholy gloom, granting the benefits for 10 minutes or until you end them without taking an action to end them. While you're in this, or you only can use this feature once per long rest, or you can restore your use by expending a level 5 spell slot. With this feature, you can create your aura is filled with magical darkness, and then you and your allies in your aura protection can see through this magical darkness. Whenever a creature with the frightened condition starts its turn in your aura protection, that creature takes 40/10 psychic damage. And as a bonus action, once you have this feature enabled, you can make a melee spell attack, shaping the gloom into a blade that targets one creature in your aura protection. On a hit, the attack deals necrotic damage equal to 3d10 plus your charisma modifier. All right, so that's a lot. Let's look at details. We have class feature level 20, and then we have activities. We have 4 activities, and let's go through each one of them. First, we have the Unholy Gloom. This is just saying we're going to use this item's feature. It's going to last for 10 minutes, and while it's active for 10 minutes, there is nothing else. It's just essentially ensuring that you're using this item feature. So under details, we did put an item, limited use, and the recovery period is long rest. We're going to, under the activities, we're going to say that the activity is going to be set up as an activation time bonus action. Consumption is going to use item use, and this item is what you leave because it's going to use the Dreadlord item. It's targeting yourself, and the effect is the Dreadlord effect. So let's take a look at this effect quickly. It explains everything that the Dreadlord effect does, so I added that as the description. I set the status condition as marked. If you've watched my other videos, I like to use the marked when there is nothing else that is typically applied. It just allows the visual, it allows you to keep track of it using the visual token effects module. So I always just use marked if I have nothing else better to use. Duration is 600 seconds. There are no changes. If there were changes, I would not need to use the status conditions. But because there are no changes, I have to usually use something that I can apply to the token. Marked is not used for anything else in the 5e system. All right, we're going to submit changes, or we didn't make any changes. We don't need to submit any changes. And that's it. That's just the Unholy Gloom. Let's quickly go over the other 3 activities before we see them all in action. First is Fear. Fear is just, it says here, set up as activation time is special. A frightened creature starts its turn in your aura protection. And I forgot the U. The consumption, there's no consumption here. The targeting is special because it's already explained in the activation description. And the effect is 40/10 psychic damage. So 4, and then choose a die type. And then the damage type is psychic. Next is the Shadow Strike. This is the melee attack that you can do as part of a bonus action. So we set the attack type as melee. Then the attack classification is spell because it's using your spell attack bonus. Consumption is bonus attack, or time is bonus attack. Consumption, no consumption. Targeting, I set it to 5 feet, and then I actually realized this is not accurate. It actually is, if anything, it's special because it is within the range of your aura protection, actually. And then the effect. So we're saying the attack ability, it's going by default going to spellcasting, and then it does 3d10. And this actually doesn't need to be added because that's implied by saying the attack ability is spellcasting. And then it's 3d10 bonus, and then choosing necrotic damage. And the last activity is the Restore Use. It's just an activity to consume that 5th level spell slot. So consumption option is spell slot 1, 5th level spell slot. Then another consumption is this item -1 to increase this item's usage back from 0 to 1. Of course, it targets yourself, and there's not an effect for that. So let's see this in action on Surrender Fail. I do need to make some edits because I realized I made some edits there, and it wasn't on this token. So it was under activities. Shadow Strike should not be using. That will apply the charisma modifier twice. All right. All right. So let's see this in action. Dreadlord, if he's going to use Surrender Fail, is going to be using the Dreadlord feature. Let's move him to the side here. Click the button, and I'm going to say Unholy Gloom. I want to consume the item. So there it uses the item. And then I'm going to apply it to Surrender here. And the reason I'm going to do that is just so I have it marked so that I know that for the next 10 minutes, it's going to count down and be on Surrender Fail. It'll automatically remove itself after 10 minutes if you're using the Time's Up module, another module that I believe goes hand in hand with the Visual Active Effects module. So that's the first part. That's the Dreadlord. Now, with the Dreadlord, you'll notice there's not anything to show. Again, you don't see any kind of aura about Surrender Fail. I'm going to quickly show you a bonus little thing you can do if you want, and you want to make it a little fun. You could do this one additional thing that I set up. And I didn't set it up on my internal one because I thought this is not the way I would always set it up. So on the token, I'm gonna edit this Dreadlord, and I'm going to actually add a different activity. I'm going to do summon activity. And I'm going to say none. I'm not worried about anything. I just want to summon a token that I call the Unholy Gloom. So here's Unholy Gloom. I use a transparent image. You can easily find one on the internet, put into your compendium asset folder, and then use that as your image here. And then I would go under here and configure prototype token, leave everything as is, and then go under light. And from here, I set a 30-foot radius light, and I said this is a darkness source. I turned down the speed, made sure it's 1 and 1. Outside of that, I left everything as it is. And I put it as medium. I would even set this as tiny. And what it does when I summon, so I would use it, then I could easily just summon, and oops, I didn't finish that. I would summon that, I would drop that token here, not the token, the actor, the NPC. I want to put it here. And what you can do, if I summon it, and drop it right on the actor, you'll see it creates this, let me close this. It creates a circle of gloom in the radius of the actor. Now you'll see it doesn't follow the actor. So what you would have to do if you were the player is select everything in the square, and it will move it with you. So as you move, it moves around with you. There are tokens, token modules that allow you to attach tokens to other tokens, such as Ride Along, Follow Me, This Way, I do believe it's called. But that's just a way you can use it to give you a little bit of effect. The only downside with that is that you would have to set up like a macro to give your allies the ability to see through magical darkness. So might not always make sense. All right. So while they're in this gloom, so if we put the gloom back on, well, I'll leave it off because you can't see it on video. While they're in this gloom, the crocodile would start its turn in the radius of the aura of protection. They would also then get damage because this one specifically is feared. So it would get 40-10 damage. And as you see there, it popped up and you got 40-10 damage. That's all you would do, and then you would apply it to the crocodile. The additional feature is the Shadow Strike. This would be a melee attack. If I click here, it would then pull up the attack. I would roll against, let's say, this crocodile here, and then damage should be 3d10 plus charisma bonus necrotic. So 3d10 plus charisma bonus necrotic. And then the last part is the restore use. You will see that I have used it one time, and if I want to restore the use, it will say use my 5th level slot. It says I have none remaining, so let's make sure I have some remaining by resting real quick. I'm going to quickly use up the Dreadlord. Use that ability, so it's used up. All right, and then hit restore use. It's saying I'm going to spend 1 5th level spot, but I'm going to recover one of the uses. Hit usability. There it is. It's refunded. So that's the Dreadlord ability. All right, so there's our Oathbreaker, and all the features that go along with it have been designed. I've tested, made sure everything worked correctly, even showed a neat little way to add a summon to give a token that would follow along as though it's emanating from the NPC. That's how you would set up the Oathbreaker. Hopefully you found this useful. One of my many videos going through and setting up Unearthed Arcana subclasses. These are subclasses that you cannot find yet in any official Foundry Wizards of the Coast product. I'm doing this as just fan-made content to show you how to use and get more out of your Foundry. If you like what you see, please give me a follow or a subscribe and a thumbs up if you liked it. Please make comments if you would like to see me create any other subclasses, any other homebrew stuff. Please let me know. I can try my best to help you out. And if you're getting stuck, maybe I'm doing it differently than you are doing it, or if someone else, if you have some other ideas on ways I can do mine better, let me know. I greatly appreciate all of you that have already subscribed to my channel. This has gotten way more than I thought it would be. So thank you. And if you are making your own content, may all your brews be tasty.